Hello, beautiful people. Happy Saturday and happy weekend. I hope that everybody is having some fun things to do. And this is your practical application of astrology and my personal story share video. So, if you are seeking the astrological forecast, that one was released yesterday and was mostly dedicated to the upcoming new moon in Sagittarius, which will take place on Tuesday night, Wednesday early morning, depending where you are in the world. But in this video, this is more focused on my personal experience of astrology and how that is showing up for me in my life, especially here being on the Pluto line. So just to quickly name the few transits we had going on this week, but I really don't want to go too deep into, the interpretation because I discuss all that in my astrological videos. But yeah, as we know, Venus moved into the sign of Scorpio at the beginning of this week, pretty much straight after she made her trine to Saturn. On Wednesday, Neptune stationed direct after over 5.5 months of retrograde. And then we started the weekend with Sun trine to Chiron and Mercury trine to Jupiter, the first one of the three, because we'll have two more coming up. Then last night, Friday night, early this morning, again, depending where you are in the world, Moon moved into the sign of Scorpio as well. And then tonight or early tomorrow morning, Venus will make an opposition to Jupiter. So all these aspects, just as I was discussing in my video yesterday, are going to be present for the upcoming lunation. And yeah, this is a big build up. As I already discussed in my previous videos, I believe that this is a super important new moon. It's the last new moon. I keep saying last moon, but there is one more in Cancer coming up, full moon in Cancer. But this is the last new moon coming up this year in 2023. And then, we opened 2024 with the new moon in Capricorn, and that will be also the last new moon in 2024, the new moon in Capricorn. So that's all very interesting. So anyway, how all this has been showing up for me. So even though we are in a Sagittarius season, which of course is very extroverted, it's very going out there and seeking adventures. Sagittarius is about exploring the horizons and what is the truth and what can we experience to expand, because it's all about expansion. It's all Jupiter, obviously. But Jupiter is, of course, retrograde at the moment, which is very introspective, and it's in Taurus, which, of course, is a feminine sign. It's again very grounding. It's very feels into things, sensory experience, and all that. And now Venus, as of Monday, Venus, the ruler, and also the rule of the South Node, as we keep talking about this entire year, the resolution node to Pluto square. It's Venus is now in Scorpio, right? So she is definitely making us to dig deep into our emotions, and this is technically what's been going on for me this week. Even though there has been a lot of external activity, a lot of bookings, clients, work, and all that kind of things, but all around that external, there is so much processing going on for me. And of course, being Pluto Scorpio generation, Venus just conjuncted my Pluto in Scorpio, and she's gonna conjunct my South Node and Saturn and all that stuff that's going on there in Scorpio for me. And it's all in my 9th house, which is the house of Sagittarius, which is all about this expansion and what is the deeper knowledge. And I had some very profound realizations this week with regards to where I find myself at, and also as I mentioned in my previous videos, people from my past are coming back around to help me to understand certain things, to help me to understand certain knowledge, and also to potentially show me new directions. And I have been getting some confirmations with regards to something which I intuitively was tapping into already. And all in all, I really feel like it seems to me even like my videos are like 1 week is more extroverted then more introverted, and now I feel very introverted. I think it's also mostly to do with moon being in Scorpio, and I have my moon in Cancer, as I keep saying, so I am very impacted to what Scorpio is doing, and usually when Scorpio what moon is doing, and usually when moon is in Scorpio, I feel very, very introverted, very I don't even plan to go out this weekend, just stay with my feels and feel into things. So that's why I feel like today making this video is there is a lot of processing going on. Again, a lot of processing. Again, I feel I find myself in my cocoon. I'm processing. Because as I mentioned, there has been a lot of things becoming very clear to me throughout this week with regards to my direction, where I'm heading, what do I want to explore, what horizons, new horizons do I want to explore. And as I might have mentioned previously, I do feel intuitively that this is my last time in Puerto Vallarta. I don't feel I'll be coming back, not for a long stay, just as I'm staying right now. And all this that is going on for me, with the external stimuli bringing things up for me internally, and then having the opportunity to process that, is just confirming that for me. And like I said, I had a couple of readings for myself this week, and a lot of things have been confirmed. So yeah, I definitely have been spending even more time in isolation, processing everything, and focusing on what actually, where do I want to go? What do I want to do, going forward? How do I want to create this 2024 vision for myself? Because this is what I keep advising to people. This upcoming new moon is very important. Seed your intentions, focus on what you want to create. Where do you want to go? What horizons do you want to explore? And then I'm like, well, what is it for me? What is it that I actually want to explore? And where do I want to go with this? So I definitely have been contemplating over that, and also noticing how the things of the past, as I mentioned, and people are coming around to help me understand certain lessons, which I feel I'm now culminating and having, for me also, in my story, in my personal experience, having the opportunity to make a new choice under old circumstances. So it's been very interesting how this has been coming up. And as always, and this is how it works for me all the time, I probably already talked about it, that when I follow my own inner guidance and the direction that is being shown to me, more things will come. Like, for example, more people will show up that have messages for me. I get double, even triple confirmation from different resources that are confirming the same thing for me, which is usually what I already intuitively known. But, we don't trust ourselves. Even people who have been doing all sorts of spiritual work, channelers and stuff, even they still don't fully 100% always trust themselves and want confirmation, right, from the spirit and stuff. And that's what's been going on for me. Like, I intuitively knew something, I was tapping into something, but I was still having a resistance. I was still having an inner war with myself. It's all these oppositions that are going on in the skies. And as we know, Venus will be building up towards opposition to Uranus herself. So there might be even all shocking explosions coming up to the surface, revelations and stuff like that, from the subconscious to conscious. So anyway, I don't always also trust especially when it comes to me, when it comes to advising myself, doing what I feel is the right thing for me. And then having all these people popping up in my reality and things coming around to confirm that which I was already intuitively understanding, that okay, this is what it is, but didn't trust myself. And yeah, it's been very I've been very grateful for having this validation. So what I started to say before going into the rabbit hole was that when I follow my own inner guidance, there is always the next step revealed. And this is where I feel most people struggle, because they want to understand the entire journey. That's how we were being conditioned. We should have this 5 or 10 years plan, or at least year plan, knowing what's ahead. And I just actually done a client's reading, and that's what I advised to her as well. I said, let's not get too rigidly attached. It's nice to have an aspiration, and 100%, I've been saying, let's put the intention out with this upcoming new moon in Jupiter, new moon in Sagittarius, trine by North Node, Jupiter in opposition with Venus, all that going on, and some much more, which you can listen to in my astrological forecast if you wish to. But let's not be too rigidly attached to things, because things are in a continuous state of flow, especially with Saturn being in Pisces. Pisces is mutable sign, is the end of the cycle. So the more things that are coming up to the surface and being unveiled to us, unrevealed to us, the more things are starting to fall into the place. Also, more deconditioning is taking place. We are learning the truth about ourselves. We are trying to find our way back to ourselves, back home, back to yourself, back to your soul, because in this time and age which we heading into, which we entering into, that like, you know, I already talked about this. There will be so much information, there will be so much overstimulation, you can go in so many different directions, right? But we need to have our center, and this is what repeatedly has been coming up for me, even through the advice I was getting through, you know, the readings that I've received, is grounding. We need to learn to ground is energy. Be grounded in your center. Because for me, and this is something that I really resonated from my reading, I fly out there in the ether. For me, it's very easy to see the higher perspective, yeah, to like get all these messages, all this, very easy. But to bring it back to earth and to live this everyday human experience, that is very hard for me. Very hard for me, because I've always struggled. I always struggled to be here. I never felt like I belonged. I felt like, why am I here? Where did I land? So actually now that world is changing, this is kind of getting a little bit more exciting for me, because I'm like, okay, so, you know, like there is more people that are starting to perceive reality, or I'm being aware of more people that are perceiving this reality in this way, you know, in a different way, not the conventional way, which is what never made sense to me. And even, like I said, when I follow my own guidance, and then more like breadcrumbs come into my reality, and also more teachers. And I had some very like life altering, especially that this stage of my own life, of my own evolution, teachers coming into my life. And I'm so grateful, because things are accelerating again. And like I said, this is how it's always been for me. There is something that pops into my consciousness, whether it's through YouTube feed or Facebook or whatever it is, you know, the spirit always finds a way to point something out to me, to get my attention. And then I follow that, and then one thing leads to another, you know. Then I also had to accept that nothing lasts forever. There are not teachers that are going to be with you forever. Very unlikely. There could be, but for most people that is not the case, because you always get to the point where you've learned what you were meant to learn from that person, and now you have to go in your own direction. You have to find your own authority. You cannot keep putting someone else on pedestal, especially now with Saturn in Pisces. And that's something that I have been experiencing, especially, well, it's been actually for past weeks. I can even say that I really had my doubts with regards to what I was getting myself into, with regards to certain teacher or certain teaching. And then now it really, you know, became very apparent to me that actually, yeah, I've learned what I was to learn. And it's not like there is nothing more for me to learn. Of course, there is many other things I can learn from certain people, but I just felt like what I needed to learn, I learned. There is more I could learn, but I don't need it anymore. So I feel like now I'm getting to the point, by also being confirmed by external sources, where I'm really being invited to trust myself. Just like I advise my client, you need to learn to trust myself. And it's the same for me. Like many times we mirror each other. So I attract clients that also in many cases mirror, you know, like what I'm processing, or, you know, what comes through for them. It's helping me to understand certain dynamics in my life. So I'm also learning to trust myself more, to rely on my gifts and on my own intuition. And again, there is no right and wrong. There is not like, oh, somebody knows something better or something, because your journey is unique to you. And that's why, you know, we all really finding our way back home, back to ourselves, back to wholeness. That's technically what the Pisces ultimately means. It's the wholeness. It's coming back to the source. And now with this Sagittarius thing, Sagittarius New Moon, which is square by Neptune, I feel that really it is an opportunity for spiritual upgrade, especially as this is happening on a 12/12. I mean, you know, for some of us it's the 13th of December. However, that's right after the 12/12 portal opens, and that's why I feel this is such a significant time, such a significant end of 2023, which, as I mentioned last time, for me technically that's already ended anyway. But it's very profound to have this new moon that we are entering into, you know, the energy of, because everything that's been going on this week, and also everything that will be going on next week, and some of the aspects will be even, you know, like still in effect until the end of the year. this is all a preparation, is preparing stage for this lunation. And this lunation, it's very impactful because Sagittarius is a perception of the reality, is the story. And this week, because we've been ruled by Cancer, I always tap into the energies ahead of the times, and that's why I feel I've been in such a deep introspection this week, and having the opportunity to truly reevaluate why am I holding on to this story. Even I was being challenged, in my own reading that I received, that why are you holding on to this story? Is this a program that you received from your parents or from your environment or something? So for example, with regards to this experience I'm having, the exact experience, it's a course, and I know that a lot of people can resonate, that you spend a lot of money on certain course, and you might get to the point in the course where you actually have a realization that, okay, I don't need to finish this course. I could get more information out of it, but I don't need it, or I don't resonate with the group, or whatever it is. And it's interesting because I actually had a conversation with someone else a week ago, and that person was going exactly through the same thing. She said that I needed to take myself out of the groups or of courseworks because I no longer resonated. And this is something which we are being conditioned again to believe, Sagittarius, that when you start something you have to finish, otherwise you failed, or you are a loser, or whatever. So it's always being brought up back to ourselves, that, oh, something wrong with you, if you can't stick with something, or if you can't finish something. But we are entering the age of Aquarius, we already entered it, but we are at the beginning of it, so it's a new experience for us all, being incarnated at this moment. But what I'm trying to say, that as we know, Aquarius trines Mercury, Gemini, and trines Libra. So it's this process of Mercury also, what it represents in Gemini is this multidimensionality. So, and that's why I feel that more and more people, more and more entrepreneurs, people who are following their passion and doing what they really love, they branching out, I'm not saying, there are people who are really expert in one field and stick with one field and just do one thing. And that's okay. That's the way they meant to experience that. But I am not that person. I have my North Node in 3rd house. I didn't come here to be an expert in anything, okay? I have my South Node in the 9th house. I already been there and done it all, billion times before. I'm a very, very old soul, I've been here many times. So in this incarnation, I didn't come here to become an expert in anything. I didn't come here to be the best evolutionary astrology in the world. And anyway, the way I do it, it's probably nothing to do with, with the structure of how it should be done and stuff, because it's mostly intuitively guided. And now I got to the point where I feel like, okay, I'm ready for the next step. So me just keep going in the same direction, getting more of the same courses on the same topic. And even my traditional astrology courses, I have so many courses I never even opened and never finished. And yeah, I for sure could learn so much more from it. I could gather much more information, but is it really relevant? So this is the thing. This is, I feel, the thing that in a sense, I'm starting to question. So perhaps a lot of people out there are starting to question too, that is that really necessary when we start something to actually have to finish it? Because like I said, we were being conditioned to believe that when you start something, you have to finish it. I know that even a lot of people were brought up, hopefully not anymore, but I know I was brought up that way. You have to finish what's on your plate. You're not getting out of the table until you finish what's on your plate. And I know that for many people that caused, issues with food and stuff like that. So anyway, so it's the same thing with regards to education. We were being conditioned, you have to finish. And I know there are people who, for example, entered into university, college, and then drop out, and then they felt bad about it. They felt guilty, ashamed, oh, I didn't finish, or I don't have my degree, or whatever. I never even went to university, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It wasn't right for me. I did get enrolled 3 or 4 times in different universities throughout my 20s, but I never went, because I was just I don't resonate with this. There was always things that I would have to study that I had no interest about, and I was and it's the same thing. Why? This is the important thing for people to acknowledge. You only have 100% of your energy available every day. You can only have 100%, okay, it's like the whole circle, it's the whole pie. Imagine you buy a pie, you have, it's a round circle, you have 100% of the pie. So if you give all these 12 pieces away, then you don't have a pie anymore, right? It's gone, it's eaten, or it's been, whatever, shared, doesn't matter. So it's the same thing with our energy, with our human energy. You have 100%, you have the pie, right? And now you decide what degree or what percentage of this pie, of this energy you give to certain areas of your life, to certain, things that you do, right? So obviously we all need to sleep, like the basic things, sleep, eat, drink, go to toilet, all these kind of things, right? So then the rest of it, how do you dedicate your time? So the one thing which I feel that many people underestimate is that we cannot buy any more time. You can buy everything else, most of it, if you have the money for it, but you cannot buy any more time. I know people can even challenge me on that, like, well, people with money, they can do this and this, procedures, whatever. There is all this kind of technology. Okay, let's not go down into the rabbit hole. Let's just say, okay, your time is your time, that's it. And actually, even then, the soul decides when it's ready to go. So it doesn't matter what kind of procedures you have, and the soul decides time, it's time, Things happen outside of your control. So anyway, again, I don't want to go into all these rabbit holes that I'm getting myself into, because I would get lost in there. But considering that you have a limited amount of time, the 100%, how are we using this time? And considering that you cannot buy any more time, a lot of us, myself including, we are wasting so much time, which is so interesting, because then when people get to the older age, sometimes they wish they had more time. They say, oh, I wish I had more time, especially when people get sick or diagnosed or whatever with terminal illnesses, and they say, oh, I didn't have enough time to do everything I wanted to do. It's so interesting to me, so interesting. I don't know why spirit took me to this to this corner. It's so fascinating to me how we waste time. And time is the most precious commodity, because you cannot buy any more time. You only have the time you have. That's it. And most of us waste so much of our time doing things that are like not really serving us, right? So in this case, me with, for example, some of my coursework, I've decided that why am I investing all this time into something that no longer gives me joy, no longer gives me pleasure, no longer makes me feel excited. It actually makes me feel bored, and I have to distract myself doing something else while I'm doing this, because otherwise I can't even sit in one place. Why am I doing this to myself? Well, because of the conditioning, because I was being conditioned. Well, you pay all this money for it, you need to dedicate yourself to it, and then you need to finish it. And then what? I'll just wasted all this time. And I'm not saying, of course, everything, will teach you something. There is no wrong choice. But so many of us are putting ourselves through these situations without even questioning, without thinking about it. And it's just, oh yeah, it's just, it's just another few weeks or few months or something. Oh yeah, I can just finish it, right? So I feel that going forward in our time and age, we will be reevaluating more how are we using our time, and whether the time that we are, the 100% we have available, whether we actually using it to our the benefit or detriment. Because if we're doing something, and I'm sure many people can resonate, if you're doing something that is actually not in alignment with who you are, it makes you feel exhausted. When people are doing something they love doing, they feel energized. Like you can see it, especially at the at the concerts, musicians, they get even more energized the more they keep going. And obviously, then the body crashes, because we are limited by this physical form, but people feel energized. I can even feel it when I do readings for my clients, like when there is a true soul connections, like I really feel so energized afterwards, and I like doing my readings, but it's not always the same experience, and I'm sure it's not the same experience for the clients as well. So when we do something we really love, we don't feel like we're losing. We don't feel like, oh yeah, this is costing me so much energy and there is so much resistance because I need to keep going at this and I need to finish this and all this obligation, right? All this conditioning, because that's where it came from. And if we don't finish, we feel guilty and ashamed that, oh, I cannot stick with anything. And this is something which actually has been showing up a lot in my life, because I come from family which is conditioned exactly in this way, and I've done so many courses in my life because, North Node in third house, of course, I'm gonna keep studying forever, and South Node in the ninth is something that comes naturally to me. I got very, very curious mind. So I always got being criticized for that. Like, why do you do all these courses? You never do anything with them. You never monetize them or whatever, And then why do you keep doing more courses? Why do you need to do, I don't know how many courses and whatever? So all these like criticism with regards to that, and then obviously, like if I do get a course, then you better finish it, right? And and I just actually had the opportunity this week throughout these interactions I had and receiving readings for myself to actually observe that, like, yeah, I mean, this is so obvious. Again, it's so obvious, and I never thought about it that way. Why do I push myself and torture myself to keep to keep going or finish something which actually doesn't make me happy anymore, or potentially is not giving me what I need, and maybe I need to save this energy and use it somewhere else, do something different, something that does make me excited, because this is how your soul communicates with you what is the right thing for you, what is your purpose. And this is why so many people feel disconnected from themselves and their own intuition, because they don't listen. Because you yourself know what makes you feel good, what makes you feel happy, what makes you feel excited and inspired. But many cases we're not doing that, because there is that condition in the program that, okay, this is what you have to do. This is what you have to do. And then if you have extra time, time, if you have extra time after you've done everything that has to be done, then you can do these things you want to do. And then by the time you get to that point, you're exhausted and you don't have any more energy, so you can't do anything. You just check out in front of the television and that's it. Not my case, because I don't watch television, but I know, and again, no judgment, but I know this is the case for many people, because they exert too much of their energy doing things they don't want to do, and especially to do with jobs. And then they come home and they're exhausted, and they like even thinking about, oh yeah, me going to do yoga right now, like, are you kidding? I don't have the energy for that. Or in in my case, you want me to meditate? I don't have time for that. And what they usually say, if you don't have time to meditate, you have to double the amount of time that you meditate. If you meditate half an hour, if you think you don't have half an hour to meditate, you have to meditate for an hour. So it's the same thing, like when people say, oh, I'm too tired to go to gym, then you definitely need to, do something, like you need to exercise or something, because that means that there is something that would be probably good for you, and you just wasted all your energy on something that didn't really give you nothing, just took. And now there is something that would give you something back, but you don't have time and energy for that. So anyway, I don't know if that makes sense, but this is something that I was being brought to talk about, and that's something that became very obvious for me this week, which is again connected to the stories, because we are heading towards new moon in Sagittarius. What is the story that we are intending to experience? And yes, I know I went into all these rabbit holes yesterday in my video with regards to that sometimes, what the soul wants and what the ego wants are two different things, and we don't necessarily always get what we want, because life happens. But still, you are the creator of your reality, and they say that, your ego, as long as it's working alongside your higher self and co-create, because ego's got its function, it's obviously got its purpose, it's not, there is no waste, there is nothing random in the universe, as I keep saying. So as long as the two are in alignment, then it's all good, so we always, hopefully, intend that which we want to experience. And then if things don't happen exactly 100% exactly as we wanted, then there is a reason for it, and usually over the time it turns out that it was perfect, that it didn't work out, or it happened in different way, that actually turned out to be the right thing. And I know that was for me every single time that this took place in life. But that doesn't mean you now don't set intention or don't think about, I would like to experience this. And it's not as much even about what do you want it to be in detail, in a sense that, oh yeah, I want to go there on vacation or get this job and get this salary and stuff. Like, it's good to have some kind of, I guess, guideline. I'm trying to express this correctly, so I'm not contradicting myself. But I always say that it's more important what is the feeling you want to get out of that experience, like, because for most people, it's like, I just want to be happy, or I don't want to have to worry, about money or about safety, security, or whatever. So it's more like, okay, you don't necessarily want, because I know for a lot of people it's like, oh, I want that position because it will pay me this much. But it's not even always the case that I want that position because it makes me feel excited or it would make me happy. Sometimes it is the case, sometimes it isn't. So it's more important, like, how do I want to feel next year, or like what story do I want to experience with regards to what adventure I'll be going through. So I mean, for me, for example, I don't know exactly the details of that. Like, yes, I have the intention to go back to Bulgaria for summer, and then I'm considering what am I going to do for next winter, and I have ideas and stuff. Now, is it going to happen? I don't know. How is it going to happen? I don't know. All I know is that I'm letting something brew, something to cook within my system, and I'm tapping into all these energies, and I'm kind of like, like when you cook in something and then you go into the pot and you tasting, like, how does it taste? Oh, okay, let's add more salt, or let's add more herbs, or let's add more spice, or whatever. And then you walk away, you let it cook a little bit longer, you come back, you taste again, and you go, oh yeah, it tastes better or not, whatever, let's adjust, whatever. So that's exactly what I feel. I literally can see the pot cooking. So that's what I feel is happening. Like, you have a certain idea, okay, I'm gonna cook this soup, right? And then you adjust, you adjust the taste as you go along. So I have a certain idea personally for myself for 2024, like, yeah, this is kind of what I would like to experience. I don't have all the details in a place, I don't have like any fixed plan in a place, but I'm like, yeah, but this is the experience I would like to have, with regards to I would like to feel this way, I want to feel more excited. I believe that this is the right thing that potentially would lead to that, because it makes me feel excited to think about this. Now, is it going to happen exactly that way, or is it going to be exactly that outcome? I don't know, but like, it's better to set the intention to what you don't to what you do want, or then focusing on, oh, I don't want this to take place, like to decide from the place of fear and lack, because then you put in your energy into that. So that's what I mean, that this week, for me, and I'm sure for many others, all these old story patterns has been coming up to the surface. So like for me, for example, with regards to my coursework and the limiting belief behind that, oh, you need to finish what you start, no matter what, because you paid for it or something, And I'm like, well, is this really true? And is this really serving me? And if I only have 100% of my time available every day, why would I dedicate this amount of percentage to something that I actually don't want to do? And I know many people, again, could challenge them and say, well, I have to go to work because I have to survive, and, whatever, like all these, like personal case scenario, which then again, I would say, like obviously everybody's got their own life and their own choices, and they're creating that experience for a reason. But what it is that we can change, like for example, I had friends that would continuously work a lot of overtime because they were like, well, we need extra money, and then they would completely be exhausted, checked out, work even on Saturday or something, and then they would get resentful, argumentative, jealous, unhappy, all these kind of emotions. So okay, like what is more important then? Like, yeah, we all need to survive 100%, but under which conditions? Because actually, yeah, for me personally, I don't want to just survive. I'd rather not be here if I just have to survive. Like I'm not so attached to this reality, which is the problem. That's why I need to learn to ground, because I am not really attached to this reality, seriously. So anyway, without going into that rabbit hole, I feel that this week specifically, especially since Venus, the ruler of the South Node, moved into the sign of Scorpio, that there are more things being digged out, just like they were during Scorpio season, which was intense, as we know, and now more things are being digged out to the surface. And then there's gonna be, as we know, opposition to Uranus, trine to Neptune, and sextile to Pluto. There already was a trine to Saturn. So this is all supporting us. Where we heading? Well, where are we heading? We are heading into this undiscovered new territory, into this North Node in Aries, which is something new, something unexplored. So what are we seeding for next year? What are our intentions with this upcoming new moon in Sagittarius? Where is to explore horizons, which hopefully you haven't explored yet. Or if you did and they made you happy, then of course you want to go and explore them some more. But like I mentioned repeatedly, how many people are actually happy? How many people are exploring right now horizons, exploring the horizons that are making them happy? And everybody wants a better story. Everybody wants to live a better life. But are we willing to change, or are we willing to try something we didn't try before in order to get there? So like I said, for me, am I willing to try something different, to do something that's uncomfortable, like maybe drop out of something that I invested into because, before I thought in good faith that, yeah, this will be supportive to me, but then maybe realizing that actually maybe I outgrowed this and maybe I need to go in different direction that makes me feel more excited. So rather than torturing myself and, yeah, when you finish this, then you can do something that you enjoy, something that makes you feel excited and passionate. But why wait, right? If you only have 100% of time and time is the only thing that you cannot buy them more of, why then wait? Why not to make small adjustments now and dedicate more time to what you want to do, what makes you happy, which then gives you more energy potentially to maybe change your job, or maybe create something different, or maybe whatever it is. So that's what I mean. It's this, like, I understand when there are circumstances and people feel we have no choice and we are stuck, right? But there is always a choice. So we don't have to think at the whole picture and get overwhelmed and think like, okay, I want this, but I'm here and it's just too much of a gap in between. Like, how can we get closer to it? Like, how can we just maybe give ourselves half an hour doing the things you enjoy? Because it's all about the energy. If we create this energy, if we are able to generate this energy of joy and happiness, the more you create in that energy, the more you attract of that energy, right? That's the law of attraction. So then eventually you will attract something into your life that will help you to shift the situation in your head, because the more you get used to the energy of happiness and joy by doing something that you do love, not just procrastinating and like, oh, this is not finished, I need to do this thing that needs to be done, it has to be done. There will be always something that has to be done. It's just like with laundry, it's never ending, there always will be more laundry. So if we forever are waiting to be happy because all these things needs to be done first, and first I need to finish what I started and then maybe I'll have time to be happy, it will never come. But actually, when we consciously dedicate and with discipline, the way we are disciplined, to do things that we don't want to do, but they have to be done. But if we in the same way start scheduling things that actually we want to do, that makes us happy, and it doesn't have to be like, I'm not saying about extremes, like now let's forget about laundry, let's not do any laundry and let's just go ice skate all day. Like, okay, there has to be a balance. That's why there are oppositions in a chart. There has to be a balance. We need to find a way. But just to start making small changes, small shifts, and here comes the new moon in Sagittarius next week, which is saying that, well, what adventure do you want to choose? What is the story? I'm not promising you everything's going to happen exactly as you want it to, or it's going to be exactly what you want, but whatever you attract with that intention, which is based on how do you want to feel? I want to feel more excitement. I want to feel more safety, security, more happiness, more joy, more love, more health, more whatever it is, then universe will create circumstances that will bring you closer to that. But we need to do something. Like, if you're just wishing on a star but not making any changes and just keep doing everything that we've been doing always, and just like, okay, well, I need to persevere, this is how it has to be done, I just have to keep going, then unless there is a tower moment and Uranus just throw something in there to completely disrupt that structure, then it's unlikely to change, right? So that's why big changes and shifts are happening in our life to get us out of that stuckness. So anyway, like I said, there hasn't been again so much going on externally for me this week, and like I said, there is a lot of there's going to be a lot of feminine energy soon, because we're going to enter Capricorn season soon, Mercury already is in Capricorn, and Mercury is going to station retrograde next week and turn back into Sagittarius. But by the time Sun will be already in Capricorn, because they still have the conjunction in there. But the energy is shifting continuously. So that's why we need to, and I'm learning this myself, okay? It's not like I'm a pro at this. I'm learning to be more flexible with my schedule, more flexible with what I think I want, because the more I'm uncovering and learning about myself, like discovering really who I am, not just what is the conditioning and the stories that I bought into, which there are still so many of them running in my subconscious, like even like this with the coursework. Is that actually my truth? Did it come from me that I have to finish what I started just because I pay money for it, even if it doesn't make me any, happy anymore? Where did it come from? And yeah, this is something that's so obvious, but it wasn't obvious to me because I never asked the right question. I never stopped and thought about it, that why am I doing this? Does this actually make sense, knowing everything else that I now know? And of course it doesn't. But, when we are on autopilot, when we are being navigated by our subconscious mind, we have to become conscious of it. Like me, I had to become conscious of it. I had to have it pointed out, by someone else, that why would you be doing that? Is it something that you observe in your family or what? And and like I keep always saying, with the Leo archetype, like people keep asking about their purpose. That's usually one of the top 3 questions, okay, top 4. Like it's always health, money, relationships, and purpose. What is my purpose, right? Everybody wants to know about their purpose. What is my purpose here? Why did I come here? Well, how does anybody else know? You know, because what makes you happy is the same thing. It's Leo. Leo is the purpose. Leo is your heart. Leo is your inner child. Leo is your passions. Leo is your hobbies. What makes you happy? What makes you feel inspired? So, for me this week, I had the opportunity to observe, well, this doesn't make me feel inspired anymore. It makes me feel bored. It makes me feel not engaged. It makes me feel checked out. So I'm like, okay, well, we're moving somewhere different. We're moving in a new direction. What is this thing that makes you feel excited, inspired, and so right now? Because that's actually supporting us in this being grounded here in this reality. That's what I was being also pointed out, and it very deeply resonated with me only yesterday, that when you follow your purpose, when you do the things that make you happy, you want to be here. Otherwise, we want to check out, because if I'm spending 70% of my time doing what I don't want to do, being in resistance to myself, because then of course I come home, I have no energy to do anything else, and then what's the point? Well, I'm not really living my purpose, am I? Just, being the cog in the wheel or whatever, which again, I understand this is a many people's reality and they feel stuck and they feel they have no choice. But this is exactly why these things, we have to become aware of these things, and then eventually we'll find a way to change this, because just because this is what everybody's doing, that's what my parents used to tell me. Well, do you think we like it? Do you think we like our job? But we have to pay bills. We need to survive. You don't get to do what you like. You don't get to do what you enjoy. These are the stories that are running in my family. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'd rather be dead. I'd rather not be here, and that could be you could say, oh, that's a bit extreme, right? But, I'm Pluto in Scorpio. I am very extreme. But, anyway, all that said, backpedal, it's like, well, these are the stories that are running through human collective. How many people grown up hearing this, hearing this from their parents, where, do you think I enjoy what I do? But it has to be done. We need to pay bills. Money doesn't grow on trees. All this lack mentality and this victimhood and this, I have no choice. I have no choice. And then collectively we bought into this story, collectively, because most people, not everyone, but there are a lot of people who heard this story growing up. It's a collective story. It's a story that's been passed on from generation to generation, and we think it's the truth. But is it? Is it? I mean, how many people out there are not living that story? Okay, still the minority, but still, there are people who are not living that story, and they say, well, I don't do that, I had an ex-boyfriend who said, for less than I don't know how much per hour, I'm not even gonna get out of the bed. And I'm like, good for you. And that takes us back to Taurus. What do you think you deserve? What do you think you're worth, right? So anyway, so going back to this, what I keep talking about in circles, how we spend in time and where are we stuck into, and how can we change the story? How can we start shifting the perspective and change the story? Because, at the end of the day, you came here to live your purpose, right? Because that's why so many people want to know what it is. What is my purpose? And when can I start living my purpose? Well, you decide, because your purpose is being you, to find out what makes you happy, to be authentic. It's all Leo. Fifth house. What is fifth house? Everything that's fifth house is your purpose. This is how you find out who you are authentically. You go try different things. You go watch different movies. You go to different restaurants. You try different hobbies. And then something within you helps you to decide, I like this, I don't like this. And then, oh, I like this, okay, let me do more of that. That's why when people find out their hobby, they usually want to do it repeatedly. They want to stick to it. Or if they like someone and they go on date, they want to see that person again because like, oh yeah, I like something about this person. I'm learning something here about myself. Because it's all about you. This is the story of your life. It's your own story. You are the creator of it, right? So this is so important because right now with this upcoming new moon in Sagittarius, being in Sagittarius season, this is why all these stories are coming up, and now Venus is helping us with being in Scorpio, digging it all out even more. South Node in Libra, where did we adopt other people's story? And that's why there is the imbalance. Somebody out there is laughing like, haha, they bought into it and we are having such a good time here living our authentic life, and everybody else, is being trapped in this story because, they spread it around and everybody bought into it, and now we think that's the truth. But is it? So now with this new moon, how about we change the story, right? How about we change the way it goes? Yeah, it's not going to be easy, but it's North Node in Aries. You have to be brave. Somebody has to be the leader. Somebody has to be the first one to change it. In my family, it's me, And do you think I get accolade from my parents for being like this? They think I'm weird. They think I'm a loser. Because, I didn't do anything that all of my ancestors did. I'm not married, I don't have kids, I don't have house, I don't have mortgage, I'm a digital nomad, I keep studying forever and continuously going in new direction and all that, and they think, oh, she's so unstable, unreliable, she doesn't know when to grow up, doesn't take life seriously. But there has to be someone like me in every family, not like doing what I do, but to change the pattern. Because we are at the age of Aquarius, Saturn is in Pisces, we need to change the pattern. The pattern became outdated because we all reliving the same old story that actually doesn't work, doesn't apply. And most people don't even like it. Most people don't even want to live that story, So what became potentially conscious for you this week with all these things that's been going on? And I mean, Sun trying to Chiron, the collective wounding in Aries. What are we afraid of? Which is the unknown, stepping in a new direction. Let me just stick with what I know, even though it makes me miserable and sucks all my energy and I'm exhausted at the end of the day and I just want to check out because I don't even want to be here completely disconnected, not even in my body anymore, right? And yeah, the Jupiter and Mercury trine, which we will have 3 of them because second one is, Jupiter is retrograde now. Second time both will be retrograde. Third time or both will be direct in January. So what are we reevaluating? What are we learning? Well, we are reevaluating the stories, the structure on which this society is built. And more people are starting to understand, with Saturn now being in Pisces, the veil is getting thinner. Veil as a veil, not as the animal. My English, So the veil is getting thinner and the spell is breaking. The spell that we were all under, this, Sleeping Beauty thing, most people heard about that story, Sleeping Beauty, how all the thing is under the spell, right? And now we are starting to awaken because somebody got pricked in their finger and now we're like, ooh, Saturn is in Pisces, ooh, in a closing phase conjunction with Neptune. Something doesn't quite make sense here. Something is not adding up. Yeah, it's making us all confused because if you're starting to realize that, did I just live lie all my life because I thought I had no choice? but not everybody is doing that. So obviously there must be a different choice, right? Well, we just had a full moon in Gemini. So we had a lot of realizations, a lot of things became illuminated because Saturn finishes retrograde that started on a new moon in Gemini. Now there is a new moon in Sagittarius. So it's saying, okay, what is the story then? And what story do you want to create if you don't like the one you experience in? And where is the attachment to the old story? Where is it coming from? Like in my case, I was not conscious about this. This was something which is obvious, but I was doing it all my life and I was not conscious about this. I needed someone else to point it out to me, like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, yeah, why am I doing that? I have all the theory. Your time is precious. You don't get any more of time. You can be dead tomorrow. So how are we using the time that we have? And what stories are we buying into that we are not using the time differently? And what gives you the sense of excitement that is actually your own higher self, your heart, because it makes your heart sing. It makes your heart swell. When you're thinking about the thing that makes you excited, whatever that is for you, everybody's got hobbies, everybody enjoys something, even if it's cooking or gardening or just walking in the nature, whatever it is for you, only you know, because that's your Leo, it's your uniqueness, it's your authentic expression. When you're thinking about that thing that makes you happy, even if it's just like, I don't know, playing with your dog or whatever, your heart swells, it's open up, it goes like, I wish I could do this for a living and get paid for it, or something, whatever. I wish I could do this all day. Whatever that is, that thing, do more of that. Because when you raise your vibration, by doing this more often, your life starts changing. And then you will be very quickly to identify consciously, not just being checked out and seeing subconscious program running show here and I don't even know what is the bloody story behind it, right? The more you start tuning into your own heart and doing these things that make you happy, the faster you'll be recognized what it isn't. And then you have a choice. Do I want to keep following this story like me? I just had to make a decision this week. Do I continue or not? Do I want to continue the old story? You have to finish what you start. Or do I decide, this is not my story. Why should I be doing that? There is something else that's calling to me, something else that's coming into my consciousness, new teachers, new resources coming into my consciousness, which I feel excited about. Well, I think that's the way to go now, okay? And there is no failure. There is no, I feel guilty and ashamed and I can't finish anything, because that's just another story. Another story we were all being told over and over again, and most of us identified with because everybody believes it. But the veil is getting thinner. The spell is being broken. So more and more people are questioning, noticing, observing, and recognizing what's the whole point of this actually, right? So, yeah. I think something is cooking, for sure. And it's a new moon. And new moon is all about new beginnings. It's about seeding new intention. And if you watch my astrological forecast, you will see how important this new moon is because of what's happening around the time of the full moon in Gemini. What's going to be happening it's going to take place at the end of May. So between now and May, a lot of things can shift. You might think, everything is going to be the same. Well, it can be, or it cannot. And even if the change is internal, it's a beginning. So anyway, I think I leave it at that, because in another long video, I can't make short ones anymore. So I don't even know if anybody is watching at this point, but I guess it helps me to process what I've been going through. So perhaps somebody else finds it helpful. But there definitely has been a lot of stories poking their head up and becoming more conscious. And then there is the choice point, right? So observe. Tune into your emotions and your sense of excitement and make a decision that's right for you. So anyway, I leave it at that, guys. I hope that whoever is still watching enjoyed and found some value in what I shared. And yeah, I wish you a beautiful rest of the weekend. My collaborations with my friends will be coming up next week, so stay tuned for that if that's something that you watch on my channel. And yeah, I'll speak to you again soon. Much love, everyone, and bye for now.